I still remember the exact moment the phone rang. It was a Tuesday evening in late October, the kind of evening where the sky turns that soft bruised purple just before full dark. I was sitting at Grandma's old kitchen table, the one with the tiny burn mark from when I was 12 and tried to make pancakes alone. The table still smelled faintly of lemon polish and coffee that had been spilled and wiped up 1,000 times. The phone was one of those old cordless ones Grandma refused to replace. It rang twice, sharp and impatient. I answered without looking at the screen. "Hello?" A man's voice came through, polite but careful. "Miss Sarah? This is Mr. Henderson from Henderson and Patel, your grandmother's attorney." I felt my stomach drop the way it does when you miss a step on stairs. Not hard, just sudden. He didn't waste time with small talk. "I'm very sorry to inform you this way, but your grandmother's will has been probated. There's been a change, and unfortunately, the inheritance that was designated for you, approximately $100,000, is no longer allocated in your name." I didn't speak. I couldn't. The kitchen light buzzed above me like it always did when the bulb was about to die. He kept talking gentle, like he was used to delivering this kind of news. The funds were redirected under a codicil dated 3 months before her passing. The beneficiary is now listed as your brother, Thomas Michael Reed. Tom. My little brother Tom. The same Tom who used to cry when I left for college because he thought I wouldn't come back. The same Tom who slept on my floor the night our dad died because he was scared of being alone. I whispered the only thing I could manage. "How?" Mr. Henderson sighed. Not dramatically, just tired. "Your brother was granted power of attorney during the last 6 months of your grandmother's life." He presented documentation showing that she wished to consolidate the estate for business purposes. Business purposes. The words felt greasy in my ears. I thanked him. I don't remember how. I think I said okay 3 times and hung up. Then I just sat there. The clock on the wall ticked. 1 second, 2, 3. I looked around the kitchen I knew better than my own apartment. The chipped blue teapot on the second shelf. The faded calendar still stuck on April, because Grandma always forgot to change it. The little ceramic angel she bought at a church sale because it looked like it needed a home. Everything's still here. Everything's still hers. But the money she saved for 27 years from sewing alterations, from baking cakes for weddings, from skipping vacations so we could have Christmas, that money was gone, and it had gone to Tom. I didn't cry right away. That came later. What came first was this strange cold clarity, like someone had turned off all the noise in my head and left only one sentence repeating. He took it. My own brother took everything she meant for me. I walked to the living room. Grandma's recliner was still in the same spot, the cushion permanently shaped like her small body. I sat in it. The fabric was cool against my arms. I closed my eyes and let the memory come. Grandma used to say the same thing every time we asked about money. "Money is only a tool, children. It's what you do with it that matters. I'm saving it so one day you can both start clean. No debt, no begging, just clean air and open sky." She never said it would be equal. She didn't have to. We both knew it would be. Tom was supposed to get the house, the little 2-bedroom she bought in 1983 with her first big settlement check after Dad died. I was supposed to get the savings account she built slowly, carefully, like she was building a nest for 2 broken-winged birds. That was the deal. Unspoken, understood. Apparently Tom had rewritten the deal. I opened my eyes. The room was darker now. Streetlights coming through the blinds in thin gold stripes. I whispered to the empty chair across from me. "Why didn't you tell me, Grandma? Why did you let him?" Of course she didn't answer, but I felt her anyway. That soft presence she always carried, even after she was gone, like warm hands on my shoulders. And in that moment I made my first quiet promise. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't curse. I wouldn't run to lawyers with fire in my mouth. I would wait. I would watch. And if life had any sense of balance left in it, then whatever Tom had taken would one day cost him more than he could ever imagine. Because karma doesn't always come fast. Sometimes it walks slow. Sometimes it waits years. And when it finally arrives, it knocks very softly, and then it stays. That night, I didn't sleep in my apartment. I slept in Grandma's bed. Sheets still smelled like her lavender talc. I pulled the quilt up to my chin and listened to the house breathe. And somewhere between 3 and 4 in the morning, I heard it. The tiniest sound, a creak on the stairs, like someone small was still trying not to wake me. I smiled into the dark. It wasn't a ghost, it was just memory, but it felt close enough. The next morning I made coffee in her pot. I drank it black, the way she did, and I started writing things down. Not angry things, not revenge things, just facts, dates, conversations I could remember, times Tom had visited without telling me, the day he started driving her to the bank to help with paperwork. I wasn't building a case yet. I was building a map of how trust gets broken, not with one big explosion, but with 1,000 tiny cuts, and every cut I wrote it down, because the truth has weight, and weight eventually has gravity. That was the beginning, the moment I understood something most people never learn until it's too late. Family doesn't protect you from pain. Sometimes family is the pain. But pain can be a teacher, a very strict one, and I was finally ready to listen. So if you're still with me, if you're willing to walk this long road with me, then stay. Because this story isn't really about the money, not anymore. It's about what happens when someone you love chooses themselves over everything you thought you shared, and what happens when you decide to choose yourself right back. Part 1 ends here. I'll see you in Part 2, where I tell you who Tom really was before the money changed the shape of his heart. Who Tom really was. I want to take you back before the phone call, before the lawyer's careful words, before the kitchen light started buzzing like it knew something I didn't. I want to show you my brother the way I always saw him, the way I loved him, before money drew new lines across his face. His name is Thomas Michael Reed. Everyone called him Tom, who gave all her grandchildren proper names on paper, still whispered Tommy when she tucked him in. He was 4 years younger than me. That gap felt huge when we were small. I was already tying my own shoes, while he was still eating cereal with a spoon bigger than his hand. But the age difference never felt like distance. It felt like responsibility. I was the one who taught him how to ride a bike without training wheels. I was the one who sat with him on the porch steps the night our father didn't come home from the hospital. I held his small hand while he cried so hard he couldn't breathe right. I told him Dad was in a better place, even though I didn't believe it myself. I said it because he needed to hear something gentle. Tom was the soft one. That's what people always said. He had big brown eyes that looked like they were always asking a question. He laughed easily. He cried easily, too. When our dog Rusty died, Tom was 9. He didn't eat for 2 days, just sat under the kitchen table, hugging Rusty's old collar. I crawled under there with him. We stayed until the streetlights came on. Grandma used to say, "That boy has too much heart for this hard world." She worried about him, not in a loud way, in the quiet way grandmothers worry. She'd pack extra sandwiches in his lunchbox just in case someone forgets theirs. She'd slip dollar bills into his coat pocket when she thought I wasn't looking. She believed kindness should be rewarded, even when no one else noticed. Growing up, Tom was never the star. He wasn't the loudest in class. He didn't play sports. He liked drawing comics in the margins of his notebooks. Superheroes who didn't punch people. They just talked to them until the bad guys understood why they were wrong. I used to tease him about it. "Tommy, the world doesn't work like comic books." He'd smile that shy smile and say, "Maybe it could, if enough people tried." I believed him back then. I really did. After high school, things shifted a little. I went to community college, worked nights at the diner, saved every cent for a real degree someday. Tom, he drifted. Not in a bad way at first, just slowly. He'd start jobs and then leave them. He'd talk about big ideas, starting a podcast, opening a coffee shop, making custom t-shirts. Every plan had the same ending. I just need a little money to get it going. Grandma always gave him something. Never much. 20 here, 50 there. She'd say, "Everyone needs a chance, Sarah. Sometimes they need more than one." I didn't argue. I loved him too much to argue. I thought he'd find his way eventually. Most people do, don't they? Then came the years when life got heavier. Grandma's health started slipping. First it was small things, forgetting where she put her glasses, calling me by my mother's name. Then bigger things, the falls, the confusion, the doctor visits that lasted longer each time. Tom stepped up in his own way. He moved back into the house, said it was to help. He drove her to appointments. He made sure she took her pills. He sat with her in the evenings and watched old westerns because she loved John Wayne. I was grateful. I was working 2 jobs by then, one at the insurance office during the day, one doing data entry at night. I couldn't be there every day. Tom could. I'd come over on weekends. I'd bring groceries. I'd clean the house top to bottom. Tom would be there, usually on the couch with his phone. He'd look up and smile. "Hey sis, she's doing okay today." And I believed him, because I wanted to. Looking back now, the signs were there. Small ones, quiet ones. The way he started talking about investments. The way he'd say things like, "Grandma wants me to handle things so you don't have to worry." The way he began locking her bedroom door when he left the house, said it was because she wandered at night. She never wandered before. I didn't question it. I was tired. I was stretched thin. I thought he was protecting her. One Sunday afternoon, about 8 months before she passed, I found them in the kitchen. Grandma was sitting at the table. Tom was standing behind her, hands on her shoulders. There were papers spread out. Bank statements. A new power of attorney form. I asked what it was. Tom smiled. That same shy smile from when we were kids. "Just making sure everything is taken care of, Sarah. Grandma asked me to." I looked at her. Her eyes were cloudy. She smiled at me, but it was the smile of someone who wasn't quite sure where she was. "Tommy's a good boy," she said. "He's helping." I nodded. I kissed her forehead. I told myself it was fine. I told myself Tom would never hurt her. Never hurt us. I was wrong. Not about the love. The love was real once. But love can sit right next to greed and never make a sound. It can share the same house, the same meals, the same memories, and still let the other one win. After the lawyer's call, I started remembering those little moments differently. The locked door, the new forms, the way Tom always had a reason why I shouldn't worry, the way he stopped asking me for small loans after Grandma gave him power of attorney. He didn't need to ask anymore. I sat in her recliner again that next night, same chipped teapot, same faded calendar. I held one of her old sewing thimbles in my palm. It was worn smooth from years of use. I rolled it between my fingers and whispered, "I'm sorry, Grandma. I should have seen it sooner." No answer came, but the house felt different now, less like a home, more like a place where something precious had been taken while everyone was looking the other way. I didn't hate Tom yet, not fully. Hate takes time to grow when it starts from love. It has to push through layers of memory, layers of laughter, layers of shared grief. It grows slowly, like ivy on an old fence, but the first root was there, deep, quiet, unmoving, and I knew, even then, that root would keep growing. I didn't call him that first week. I couldn't. My voice would have cracked, or worse, it would have stayed steady, and that would have scared me more. Instead, I kept coming to the house. I cleaned out drawers. I folded her clothes and put them in boxes labeled keep, donate, maybe Tom wants. I found things I didn't expect. A small notebook under her mattress. Her handwriting, shaky toward the end. Pages of dates and amounts. Money she'd given Tom over the years. Money she'd given me too. But the last page was different. It said only 4 words, written twice, underlined, equal for both children. She had written it again underneath, smaller, like she was reminding herself. Equal. I closed the notebook. I pressed it against my chest. And for the first time since the phone call, I let the tears come. Not loud tears, not angry ones, just quiet rivers running down my face. Because even when her mind was slipping, she still wanted fairness. She still wanted us both to be okay, and one of us had taken that wish and turned it into something else. I placed the notebook in my purse, not to use against him, not yet, just to keep. Because some things are worth remembering, even when they hurt. That was Tom, before the money changed the shape of everything. The boy who cried under the table, the boy who drew kind superheroes, the boy Grandma called too soft for this world. Maybe he still was. Maybe the softness just moved somewhere deeper, somewhere greed could reach it. Or maybe softness isn't the same as goodness. Maybe they're 2 different things entirely. I didn't know yet, but I was starting to learn. Part 2 ends here. In Part 3, I'll tell you about the first time I saw Tom after the will, the first time we stood in the same room, and the moment I realized love and betrayal can wear the same face. The first meeting after everything changed. 3 weeks passed after the phone call. 3 weeks of silence between me and Tom. Not the comfortable kind of silence siblings sometimes share. This was heavy silence, the kind that presses against your chest when you breathe. I didn't call him. He didn't call me. I think we were both afraid of what would come out if we opened our mouths. Then came the Saturday when the house needed to be cleared before the realtor arrived. Grandma's little 2-bedroom was going on the market. That was the agreement we'd made years ago. Sell the house, split whatever was left after expenses. Of course, that was before the will changed, before the money disappeared into Tom's new business account. I arrived at 9 in the morning. The key still fit the lock the same way. The door still creaked on the third hinge. Everything smelled like old books and faint lavender. I started in the kitchen. I was boxing dishes when I heard the front door open. Slow footsteps. Then his voice. Quiet, careful. Sarah? I didn't turn around right away. I kept wrapping plates in newspaper. The crinkle of paper was the only sound for almost 10 seconds. I finally looked over my shoulder. There he was. Tom, wearing the same gray hoodie he'd worn since college. Hair a little longer, eyes tired. He looked smaller somehow, like the weight of what he'd done had pressed him down. Hi, I said. My voice came out flatter than I expected. He stepped into the kitchen doorway, hands in his pockets. Didn't know if you'd be here today. I told the realtor I'd start clearing personal items. I went back to the plates. He didn't move. I thought maybe we should talk. I set the last wrapped plate in the box. Then I straightened up, looked at him full on for the first time since the funeral. Okay, I said. Let's talk. We ended up in the living room. I sat in Grandma's recliner. He took the couch, the one we used to jump on when we were kids and Grandma was out shopping. For a long minute, neither of us spoke. The rain tapped against the window, like it was trying to fill the quiet. Tom broke it first. I didn't want it to happen like this. I waited. He rubbed his palms on his jeans. Grandma, she wasn't thinking straight the last few months. She kept saying she wanted me to take care of things. She was scared the money would get lost in fees or taxes or I don't know. She trusted me. Trusted you, I repeated. The words tasted like metal. Yeah. He looked down at the carpet. She said you were busy, working all the time. She didn't want to bother you. I felt something twist behind my ribs. She never said that to me. Maybe she didn't want to worry you. I leaned forward a little. So you helped her rewrite the will, took the whole savings account, and left me with nothing. He flinched, not dramatically, just a small movement in his shoulders. It wasn't like that, he said. I'm using it for something real. A business, something that can grow. I'll pay you back. Eventually. Eventually, I echoed. He looked up then, eyes shiny. Sarah, I'm not trying to hurt you. I needed a chance. A real one. You always land on your feet. You always figure it out. I needed this. I studied his face. The boy I used to protect. The boy who cried when the dog died. The boy who drew superheroes who talked instead of fought. He was still there, somewhere. But he was standing next to someone new. Someone who could look me in the eye and say he deserved Grandma's life savings more than I did. I spoke slowly, carefully. You know she wrote it down, in her notebook under the mattress? Equal for both children. She wrote it twice. Tom's face changed. Not anger, not guilt exactly. Something softer. Something that looked almost like pain. I didn't know about the notebook, he said quietly. She was losing her memory, I continued. But she still remembered fairness. She still remembered us. He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice cracked just a little. I loved her too, Sarah. I know you did. Another long silence. The rain picked up outside. A car passed on the street, tires hissing on wet pavement. Tom swallowed. I've already spent some of it, not a lot, but some. I nodded. I wasn't surprised. Investments? I asked. Yeah, some equipment, a website, a few ads. I let that sit, then I asked the question I'd been carrying for 3 weeks. Do you think she'd be proud of you right now? He looked away, toward the window, toward the rain. I don't know, he whispered. That was the moment something inside me shifted. Not to hate, not yet, but to distance. Like I'd been holding a door open for him all these years, and now I was finally closing it. Not slamming, just letting it click shut. I stood up. I'm going to finish packing the kitchen, I said. You can take whatever you want from the house, the furniture, the pictures, I don't care. But the personal things, her journals, her sewing box, the little angel statue, those stay with me. He nodded slowly. I walked back to the kitchen. I heard him stand up. He followed me partway. Sarah, I didn't turn. I'm sorry, he said. I believed him. I believed he was sorry. But sorry doesn't give back $100,000. Sorry doesn't give back trust. I said the only thing that felt true. I loved you more than anyone else in the world, Tommy, for 31 years. I would have given you anything I had. You didn't have to take it like this. I heard him draw a shaky breath behind me. Then his footsteps retreated. The front door opened, closed, softly. I stood there holding one of Grandma's old teacups, blue with tiny yellow flowers. I ran my thumb over the handle, the way she used to, and I let myself feel it all. The sadness, the confusion, the quiet ache of losing not just money, but the last piece of family I thought I still had. When the rain stopped, I carried the first box out to my car. I didn't look back at the house, not yet, but I knew one thing clearly now. This wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about what people do when they think no one is watching, when they think the person they're hurting will never find out. Tom thought I wouldn't fight. He thought I'd accept it. He thought the girl who'll always fix things would just fix this too, by letting it go. He was wrong. Not because I wanted revenge. I didn't. Not the loud, angry kind. But because I wanted truth. And truth has a way of finding its own path, even when it moves slowly, even when it waits years. That afternoon, after he left, I went back inside. I sat in Grandma's recliner one more time. I pulled her notebook from my purse. I opened it to the last page. Equal for both children. I touched the words with my fingertip. They were still there, still true. And somewhere deep inside, I felt her nod. Just once. Softly, like she was saying, I see you, baby girl. I still see you. That was the first time we stood in the same room after everything broke. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. And sometimes quiet hurts the deepest. In part 4, I'll tell you about the months that followed, the little discoveries, the bank statements, the messages I wasn't supposed to see, and the moment I realized Tom wasn't just keeping the money. He was building a whole new life on top of it. Part 3 ends here. Stay with me. The road is long, but the truth is waiting at the end of it. The months of quiet discoveries. The months after that first meeting with Tom felt like walking through fog. Not the thick kind that blinds you completely. The kind where you can see shapes ahead, but nothing clear. Nothing solid enough to touch. I went back to work. I paid my bills. I smiled at neighbors when they asked how I was doing. But inside, something was shifting, like a river changing course under the ground. I didn't chase him. I didn't demand answers or shout accusations. That wasn't my way. Instead, I started small. I went through Grandma's things more carefully. The boxes I'd packed from the house, the drawers I'd emptied, the little envelopes tucked into books. One evening, after a long day at the office, I sat on my apartment floor, surrounded by her belongings. I opened a shoebox labeled, "Important Papers, Do Not Throw." Inside were bank statements, old ones, going back years. I spread them out on the carpet. The numbers told a story I hadn't heard before. Grandma's savings account had been steady, deposits every month, small withdrawals for groceries, doctor visits, the occasional birthday gift. Then, about a year before she passed, things changed. Larger sums moving out. 500 here, 1,000 there. Transferred to an account in Tom's name. One matched the day he told me he was starting a side hustle. Another was right after Grandma's first big fall, when she stayed in bed for a week. I remembered calling him that day. He said everything was fine. She just needed rest. I set the papers aside. I made tea, chamomile, the kind Grandma kept in her cupboard for nervous nights. I sipped it slowly, let the warmth settle in my stomach. And I wondered, not with anger, but with a deep sadness. How long had this been happening? How many times had he sat with her, holding her hand, while planning this? The next discovery came by accident. Or maybe not accident. Maybe life has a way of leaving doors cracked open when you need to see inside. Tom had left his old laptop at the house. He said it was broken. "Throw it out if you want," he told me that Saturday in the living room. But I didn't. I brought it home, plugged it in. It whirred to life, slow and groaning but alive. No password. He'd never been careful with things like that. I opened the browser. History still there. Searches for how to set up power of attorney for elderly parent, best investments for quick returns, changing a will without family knowing. My hands went cold. I scrolled further. Emails, one chain with a friend I didn't know, messages from 6 months back. "Hey man, you sure about this? Your sis might flip." Tom's reply, "She's busy, won't notice. Grandma wants me to have it anyway." Another, "Got the first transfer, starting the business next week. This is my shot." I closed the laptop. I didn't read more. Not then. I walked to my window, looked out at the streetlights flickering on. People walking dogs, cars passing, normal life happening, while mine felt like it was unraveling thread by thread. I whispered to the glass, my breath fogging it up. "Why, Tommy? We had each other. Wasn't that enough?" No answer came, just the quiet hum of the city below. Over the next few weeks, the discoveries kept coming. Small ones at first. A receipt in Grandma's sewing box for a new phone, bought in Tom's name, charged to her card. A note in her checkbook, loan to Tommy, $2,000 payback soon. The soon never came. Then bigger ones. I called the bank, pretended I was settling her estate. They couldn't tell me much without papers, but the teller, an older woman with a kind voice, sent something that stuck. "Your brother was here often, always with your grandma. She seemed happy to sign whatever he brought." Happy. The word echoed. Was she happy, or was she just trusting? Trusting the boy she'd raised. The boy who used to pick flowers from her garden and bring them inside, dirt still on the stems. I started driving by Tom's apartment sometimes, not stalking, not following, just checking. One night, I saw a new car in his spot, shiny, black, not the old rust bucket he'd driven for years. I parked across the street, watched the lights in his window, shadows moving, laughter floating out when he opened the door for a pizza delivery. He was living, really living, while I was still scraping by on ramen and overtime. That's when I realized it fully. He wasn't hiding it away like some guilty secret. He was building on it, a new life, layer by layer, car, maybe trips, maybe more. I went home that night, lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The fan turned slow circles above me, and I let myself imagine what that money could have been for me. A down payment on a small house, paying off my student loans, maybe even a trip somewhere quiet, a beach where I could walk and think and heal. But it wasn't mine anymore. It was his foundation, his fresh start, built on her savings, on her trust. The sadness came in waves then, not crashing ones, gentle ones that rolled over me and left me tired. I cried into my pillows some nights, quiet tears, the kind that don't make noise, but soak everything through. One afternoon, I found myself at the cemetery. Grandma's stone was simple. Her name, dates, beloved mother and grandmother. I sat on the grass beside it, pulled weeds from around the edges, spoke to her like she was still listening. "I miss you," I said, "every day, and I'm trying to understand, trying not to be angry. But it hurts so much." A bird landed nearby, tilted its head, watched me. "I won't fight him," I continued. "Not with lawyers or courts. That's not what you'd want. But I can't pretend it didn't happen either." The bird flew away. The wind picked up, rustling leaves. I placed a small stone on her marker, the way she taught me from old traditions, to say I was here, to say I remembered. Driving home, I felt a little lighter, not fixed, just unburdened by one small thing. But the discoveries didn't stop. They never do once you start looking. A month later, I got a call from Aunt Rita, Grandma's sister. She lived 2 states away. We hadn't talked much since the funeral. "Sarah, honey," she said, her voice crackly on the line. "I've been meaning to call. How are you holding up? I told her, okay, fine, the usual lies we tell to keep conversations light. Then she said something that stopped me. I saw Tom last week. He came by, showed me pictures of his new place. Looks nice. Said he's starting a graphic design business, using some money from your grandma. I gripped the phone tighter. He mentioned me? Oh, just in passing. Said you were busy with work. But he looked good. Happy. Happy. There was that word again. I thanked her, hung up, sat on my couch with my head in my hands. A new place, a business, graphic design, like the comics he used to draw. But now with equipment bought from her savings, from my half. I didn't call him. I didn't drive over. I breathed. In, out, slow. And I made another quiet promise, to myself this time. I would build too, not on stolen ground, on my own, step by step, even if it took longer, even if it hurt more. Because karma isn't about waiting for someone else to fall. It's about rising yourself, quietly, steadily. That night, I opened my own notebook, not grandma's, a new one, blank pages. I wrote down ideas, small ones, ways to save extra, classes I could take online, dreams I'd set aside. It felt like planting seeds in dry soil, uncertain, but necessary. Those months taught me something deep. Betrayal doesn't end with one act. It ripples. It shows up in bank slips, in emails, in shiny new cars. It builds lives while tearing down others. But it also clears space. Space for truth, space for growth. I wasn't ready to forgive, not yet. But I was ready to move, one foot in front of the other. In part 5, I'll share how life started shifting again. The unexpected call. The second chance that came knocking softly. And how karma finally whispered its first hello. Part 4 ends here. Thank you for staying with me. The story is unfolding, just like life does. Life has a way of turning when you least expect it. Not with big storms or loud crashes. Sometimes it's just a phone call on a rainy afternoon. That's how it started for me. The shift. The quiet opening of a door I thought was locked forever. It was about 6 months after I found those bank statements. 6 months since I'd last spoken to Tom. I'd been building my own small routines. Extra shifts at work. A savings jar on my kitchen counter where I dropped spare change. Evenings spent reading books from the library about starting over. I wasn't thriving yet, just surviving. One day at a time. That afternoon I was home early. Rain pattered against my window, like soft fingers tapping. I was making soup. Simple vegetable broth, the kind Grandma taught me when money was tight. The phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. Hello? A woman's voice came through. Warm, professional. Is this Sarah Reed? Yes, who's calling? My name is Elena Martinez. I'm an attorney with Martinez Law Group. We specialize in estate planning and family matters. I got your name from a mutual contact, your Aunt Rita. She mentioned you might need some advice. I paused, stirring the soup slower. Aunt Rita? What kind of advice? Elena's tone stayed gentle. She told me about your grandmother's passing, and some discrepancies with the will. I'd like to meet if you're open to it. No charge for the first consult, just to talk. I set the spoon down. The steam from the pot rose up, blurring the air. Why me? Why now? She hesitated just a second. Let's say I've seen cases like this before. Family, trust, things that slip through cracks. Sometimes there's more to the story than what shows on paper. I didn't say yes right away. I took her number, told her I'd think about it, hung up, stood there watching the rain streak the glass. That night I couldn't sleep. I pulled out Grandma's notebook again, flipped to that last page. Equal for both children. I traced the letters, felt her handwriting under my skin. The next morning I called Elena back. We met at a small coffee shop downtown, not her office. She said it felt less formal that way. She was in her 50s, with kind eyes and a scarf wrapped loose around her neck. We ordered tea, sat by the window. Tell me what happened, she said. No notepad, no recorder, just listening. I told her, all of it. The phone call from the first lawyer, Tom's role, the power of attorney, the changed will, the bank transfers, the notebook. I spoke quietly, no tears this time, just facts wrapped in memory. She nodded through it all. When I finished, she leaned back. Sarah, she said softly, This sounds like undue influence, maybe even fraud. Your grandmother's mental state, the confusion, the falls, that matters. If she wasn't fully aware when she signed those changes. I looked at my cup. The tea had gone cold. What does that mean? I asked. It means we might be able to challenge it. Not the whole estate, but the codicil, the part that redirected the money. If we can show Tom pressured her or took advantage. I felt a flutter in my chest. Not excitement, more like hope. Small, fragile. But he's my brother, I whispered. Elena reached across the table, touched my hand lightly. I know, and that makes it harder. But fairness isn't about hurting someone. It's about setting things right.
We talked for an hour. She explained options.
Gathering medical records, witness statements, maybe even talking to the bank staff who saw them together. I left with a folder of papers. Things to think about. No promises. Just possibilities. Driving home, the rain had stopped. Sun broke through clouds in thin gold rays. I felt different, not fixed, but like I'd taken a breath after holding it too long. That was Karma's first whisper. Not a shout, not revenge, just a gentle nudge, a door cracking open. Over the next few weeks, I started gathering pieces. Quietly. I called the doctor's office, requested copies of Grandma's last visits, notes about her memory lapses, her confusion with dates and names. I found an old neighbor, Mrs. Larson, who lived next door for 30 years. She remembered seeing Tom come and go. Always in a hurry, those last months, she said over tea in her kitchen. Your grandma looked so tired. She told me once she was signing papers to help Tommy with his dreams. I didn't think much of it then. I wrote it down, thanked her, left with cookies she insisted I take. Little by little, the picture grew clearer. Tom hadn't just accepted the money. He'd guided her hand toward it. Visits when she was alone. Conversations when she was foggy. Promises that it was for the family. I didn't feel angry. More sad. Sad for him. Sad for us. What makes a person choose that path? Fear? Desperation? Or just the slow drift away from who they used to be? One evening, I got another call. This one from Tom. I hadn't heard his voice in months. It sounded thin, tired. Sarah, it's me. I sat on my couch, held the phone steady. What do you need, Tom? A pause. Long one. I heard you talk to Aunt Rita. She mentioned a lawyer. News travels in families, even broken ones. Yes, I said simply. He sighed. Why? I thought we were past this. Past it? My voice stayed calm. You took what wasn't yours, what Grandma wanted for both of us. She gave it to me, he said, quiet, defensive. Did she? Or did you help her see it that way? Silence again. I'm not fighting you, I continued. I'm just looking for truth. He whispered then, almost too soft to hear. I needed it, Sarah. More than you. I closed my eyes, pictured the boy under the table with the dog collar. Maybe, I said, but that wasn't your call to make. We didn't argue, didn't yell. He hung up after saying he'd think about it, whatever it was. That call stayed with me, like a stone in my shoe. Not painful, just there. But the real shift came a week later. Elena called with news. She'd reviewed the documents I sent, the notebook, the medical notes, the witness from the bank. The teller remembered Grandma seeming unsure during one transfer. There's a case here, Elena said. Not ironclad, but strong enough to pursue, if you want. I stood in my kitchen, looked at the savings jar, half full now. I want what's fair, I said. We filed papers the next month, quietly, no big scene, just legal steps. Notices sent, dates set. Tom responded through his own lawyer, denied everything, said it was all Grandma's wish, clear mind, no pressure. But I saw the cracks. His new life, the car, the apartment, the business, started showing strain. A friend mentioned he was selling things online. Quick cash. Karma wasn't striking him down. It was just balancing, slowly. For me, the second chance bloomed in small ways. With the case pending, I felt freer. I
I signed up for a night class, graphic design, ironically. Something Tom always loved, but now mine to explore. I met people there, kind ones. One a man named David, quiet smile, shared coffee after class, listened when I shared bits of my story. Not romance, not yet, just connection, the kind I'd missed. And Grandma's house sold, the money split as planned, half to me, half to him. I used mine for a down payment on a tiny condo. My own walls, my own door. Moving in, I hung her little angel statue by the window. It caught the light, spun gentle rainbows on the floor. I sat there that first night, felt settled, for the first time in years. Karma whispered again, not done, just starting. Those months showed me hope isn't loud. It's the unexpected call, the kind stranger, the truth rising up like morning light. I wasn't whole yet, but I was healing, piece by piece. In part 6, I'll tell you about the court days, the truths that came out, the moment Tom and I faced each other again, and how forgiveness started knocking, soft as rain. Part 5 ends here. We're halfway now. Thank you for walking this path with me. The court days came sooner than I expected, not with drama or crowds, just a small room in the county building, wooden benches worn smooth from years of stories like mine. I sat there on the first morning, hands folded in my lap. Elena beside me, her briefcase open on the table. The air smelled like old paper and coffee from the hallway machine. Tom arrived late. His lawyer, a young man in a crisp suit, walked in first. Tom followed. He looked different, thinner, eyes down. He glanced at me once, just a flicker, then sat across the aisle. The judge was an older woman, gray hair pulled back, voice steady and kind. She read the case number, asked if we were ready. We were. Elena started. She spoke clearly, no accusations, just facts. Grandma's medical records, the notebook, bank transfers timed with her worst days, witness statements from Mrs. Larson and the bank teller. She was vulnerable, Elena said softly. My client's brother held power of attorney, but power comes with duty. He breached that duty. Tom's lawyer countered, said it was all consensual. Grandma knew what she signed. Tom loved her, wanted to honor her wishes. Then Tom took the stand. He sat straight, hands gripping the wood in front of him. His voice was low when he spoke. I never forced her, he said. She wanted to help me. She said Sarah was strong. She'd be okay. The judge nodded, asked questions. Did you explain the changes fully? Tom hesitated. I tried. She trusted me. I watched him. The boy I knew was there, in the way his fingers twisted together, in the catch in his throat. But the truths kept coming. Elena presented emails from his laptop, the ones I'd found, searches for changing wills, messages to his friend about getting the transfer done quick. Tom's face paled. He looked at me then, really looked. His eyes said sorry without words. The judge called a recess. We stepped into the hall. I found a bench, sat with a bottle of water. Tom approached slow, sat at the far end. Sarah, he whispered, I didn't mean for this. I turned to him. What did you mean then? He rubbed his face. I was scared, always failing. You had it together. I thought, one big push. I'd make it work. Pay you back later. Later, I echoed. He nodded. Tears in his eyes now. I sold the car, the equipment. It's not going well, the business. I felt no joy, just a deep ache. For him, for us. Why didn't you ask me? I said quietly. I would have helped, without taking. He shook his head. Pride. Stupid pride. We sat in silence until they called us back. The afternoon brought more. A doctor testified, via video, said Grandma's cognition was declining. She couldn't always grasp complex decisions, like rewriting a will. Tom's side had a nurse, said Grandma seemed alert on good days, but even she admitted the bad days were frequent. By the end of day 1, the room felt heavier, truths hanging in the air like dust in sunlight. I went home exhausted, lay on my new condo couch. The angel statue spun softly in the breeze from the window. I spoke to it, to her. Is this right, Grandma? Dragging it out like this? No answer, but peace settled, like her hand on my forehead when I was sick as a kid. Day 2 started with numbers. Elena showed the account trail. Money moved out fast after the codicil. Into Tom's business. Ads, software, a lease on an office space he never mentioned. Tom's lawyer argued it was investment, not theft. But the judge leaned forward, asked Tom directly, "Did you tell your sister about any of this?" Tom looked down. "No, Your Honor." "Why not?" A long pause. I knew she'd stop me. The room went quiet. Even the clock on the wall seemed to slow. That was the moment. The truth fully out. Not just actions. Intent. He knew, he hid, he chose. But in his voice, regret. Real. Deep. Elena closed strong. "This isn't about punishment. It's about equity. What their grandmother intended. Equal for both." The judge thanked us, said she'd rule soon. We filed out. In the parking lot, Tom caught up to me. "Wait," he said. I stopped, turned. His face was wet. "I'm sorry, Sarah. For all of it. I miss her. I miss you." I felt tears prick my own eyes. "I miss you too, Tommy." He stepped closer, hugged me awkward, like we were kids again. I let him, for a moment. Then I pulled back. "We'll see what happens." He nodded, drove away in his old car, the shiny one gone. That night forgiveness knocked, soft, like rain on a tin roof. Not full pardon, not forgetting. Just a crack in the door, a willingness to see him as human, flawed like me. The ruling came a week later, by mail. The codicil invalid, undue influence proven. The money, what was left, to be split. Tom had spent half, about 50,000 remained. I'd get 25, he'd keep the rest. But he had to repay the spent part, over time, with interest. It wasn't full justice, but it was fair, quiet fair. I called him when I got the letter. "We got the decision," I said. "Yeah, I saw." A pause. "It's okay," I added. "We can work it out." He breathed out. "Thank you." We talked a little, about nothing big. The weather, Aunt Rita's new cat. It was a start. Karma wasn't done whispering. It gave me that money, small cushion, but more, it gave me closure, a path forward. I used my share wisely, paid some debts, took another class, bought a small plant for my windowsill, watched it grow. David from class called, asked me to dinner. I said yes. We talked about dreams, not money, real ones. Life bloomed slow, like spring after a long winter. But Tom, he struggled. The business folded. He got a regular job, stocking shelves at night. He started paying me back, $50 a month, with notes. I'm trying. I saved them, like grandma's notebook. Forgiveness grew, not overnight, in moments. A shared coffee, a memory laughed over. We weren't fixed, but we were mending. Those court days stripped us bare, showed the hurts, the mistakes, but also the love underneath. Healing isn't loud. It's the quiet choice to keep the door open, just a little. In part 7, I'll share how life fully turned. The second chance blooming bright, Tom's rock bottom, and the hand I extended when he needed it most. Part 6 ends here. The story deepens. Stay close. After the court ruling, life didn't snap back into place right away. It never does. Healing comes in layers, like peeling an onion slow enough not to cry too much at once. I had my share of the money now, $25,000 wired into my account one quiet Tuesday. It sat there for a week. I didn't touch it, just looked at the number on my banking app, feeling the weight of what it represented. Not just cash, Grandma's hard work, her love, split as she intended. I used it carefully. First, I paid off the last of my credit card debt, the kind that builds up from funerals and unexpected bills. Then, I invested a little in myself, a better laptop for my night classes, some comfortable chairs for my condo. Small things that made the space feel more like home, less like a temporary stop. I even planted a garden on my tiny balcony, herbs and flowers Grandma would have loved, basil for cooking, lavender for the scent that always reminded me of her. Work got better too. My boss noticed the change in me, the quiet confidence that comes from standing up for what's right. She offered me a promotion, not a big one, but enough for steady hours and a little more pay. I accepted, started leading a small team, helping others the way I wished someone had helped me. And David, he became more than coffee after class. We went on walks in the park, shared stories about our families. His was big and loud, the opposite of mine. He listened when I talked about Tom, didn't judge, just held my hand and said, "You're stronger than you know." One evening, under a sky full of stars, he kissed me softly. It felt like a new beginning, not replacing what was lost, just adding to it. That was my second chance blooming. Bright, real, not perfect, but mine. I woke up most days with a sense of peace, the kind that settles deep in your bones. But for Tom, things went the other way. Down, steady down. His business, the graphic design venture he'd poured Grandma's money into, collapsed completely. Clients dried up. Bills piled high. He lost the office lease, sold off the last of the equipment for pennies on the dollar. I heard about it through Aunt Rita first. She called one Sunday morning. "Tommy's in a bad spot," she said, her voice worried. "Living in a friend's basement now, working odd jobs." He didn't say much, but I could tell. I thanked her, hung up, sat with it. A week later, the payment stopped. The $50 a month he'd been sending as repayment. No note this time, just silence. I didn't chase him, didn't send angry texts. I waited, like I'd waited before. Then came the night it all hit rock bottom for him. It was late, past midnight. My phone rang, pulling me from sleep. Tom's number on the screen. I answered, heart thumping soft. "Sarah?" His voice broke on the second syllable, rough, like he'd been crying. "What's wrong?" I asked, sitting up in bed. A long breath. "I messed up. Everything. I'm at the hospital. Overdosed. Pills. They pumped my stomach. I'm okay now, but I don't know what to do." The world tilted, not dramatically, just enough to make my chest tight. "Which hospital?" I said. He told me. I dressed quick, drove through empty streets, rain starting to fall again, blurring the windshield. I found him in a room at the end of the hall, curtains drawn. He looked small in the bed, ivy in his arm, face pale under the fluorescent lights. He saw me. Tears started fresh. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "For everything." I pulled a chair close, sat, took his hand. It was cold. "Tell me," I said gently. He did. All of it. The business failing, debts mounting, friends turning away, the loneliness that swallowed him whole, the pills, sleeping ones, mixed with whatever he had left. Not to end it, he said, just to stop feeling for a while. But it almost did end. "I thought I could fix it," he said, voice cracking. "Make something big. Prove I wasn't the failure everyone thought." "Who thought that?" I asked softly. He looked away. "Me, mostly me." We sat quiet then. Machines beeping soft. Nurses passing in the hall. "I never hated you," I said after a while. "Even when it hurt most. I just wanted you to see me. See what you took." He nodded, squeezed my hand. "I see now." The doctor came in, talked about discharge, counseling, a plan to get help. I stayed until morning, drove him home, to the basement apartment that smelled like damp and old takeout. "I'll help," I told him as he unlocked the door. Not with money, but with this, getting better. He hugged me then, real hug, the kind we hadn't shared since we were kids. "Thank you," he whispered. Over the next months, I extended that hand further, drove him to therapy appointments, sat with him over coffee, listening to his regrets, his fears. We talked about Grandma, the good times, the garden, the Western movies. He started opening up about the pressure he felt growing up in my shadow, the strong one, how he thought money would make him equal. "It didn't," he said one day. "It made me alone." I nodded. "We're not alone now." He got a steady job, janitor at a school, nothing fancy, but honest. He paid me back in tiny amounts again, $10 here, 20 there, with notes that said, "Working on it." And me? My life kept blooming. David and I grew closer. We traveled, a weekend trip to the coast, watched waves crash, talked about futures. I finished my classes, started freelancing design work on the side, small gigs, but mine. One afternoon, Tom came over to my condo, first time. He saw the angel statue, smiled sad. "Looks good here," he said. We cooked dinner, simple pasta, laughed about old stories, the time we tried to build a fort and it collapsed on us. As he left, he paused at the door. "I love you, sis. I love you too." It wasn't perfect. Scars don't vanish, but they fade, become part of the skin. Karma gave us both second chances, mine in rising, his in falling and getting up. It taught me family isn't about never breaking. It's about picking up pieces, together. That rock bottom became his turning point, and my extended hand, our bridge back. In part 8, I'll share the years that followed, how forgiveness turned to family again, the surprises life brought, and Grandma's quiet presence in it all. Part 7 ends here. We're getting closer to the end. The years after Tom's rock bottom passed like seasons in a quiet town. Not fast or flashy, just steady change. Leaves turning color, snow falling soft, spring bringing green again. I look back now and see how forgiveness didn't happen in one big moment. It grew slow, like the herbs on my balcony. A little water, a little sun, and time. Tom kept his janitor job at the school. He showed up every day, mopped floors, emptied trash, talked to the kids sometimes, the ones who stayed late because home wasn't easy. He told me once, over coffee at my place, how it felt good to be useful, not chasing dreams that weren't real, just doing something simple, honest. He came to therapy with me a few times, not as patient and doctor, as brother and sister. We sat in a small room with soft chairs and a box of tissues. The counselor asked questions. We answered, cried a little, laughed more than I expected. One session, Tom looked at me and said, "I stole more than money. I stole trust. I'm sorry for that most." I nodded. "I know, and I forgive you. Not because it's easy, because holding on hurts too much." He reached across, squeezed my arm. We left lighter that day. Family started rebuilding in small ways. Dinners once a month. At my condo first, then at his new place, a tiny apartment he rented after the basement. We cooked Grandma's recipes, her chicken soup with carrots cut thin, her apple pie with the crust that always flaked just right. Aunt Rita came to visit. She saw us together, smiled with tears in her eyes. "You two look like kids again," she said, like before everything got complicated. We laughed, hugged her, felt the circle closing a little. Surprises came too, life's way of saying it wasn't done giving. David proposed one fall evening. We were walking in the park where we had our first real talk. Leaves crunching under our feet. He got down on one knee, held out a simple ring, nothing fancy, just like us. "Will you build a life with me?" he asked. I said yes, with tears, with joy. Tom was there at the wedding. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. He stood as best man, gave a toast that made everyone quiet. "To Sarah," he said, glass raised, "the strongest person I know. She didn't just forgive me, she showed me how to forgive myself. And to David, take care of her, she's the best of us." We danced later, brother and sister, to an old song Grandma loved. I felt her there, in the music, in the way Tom's hand held mine gentle. Then came the biggest surprise. A year after the wedding, I found out I was pregnant. Twins, a boy and a girl. David and I sat on the couch, staring at the test, laughing, crying, planning. I told Tom over lunch. His face lit up, real light, like the boy who drew comics. "Uncle Tom," he said, grinning, "I like the sound of that." He was there through it all, the morning sickness, the ultrasounds. He even painted the nursery, soft blue walls with little stars. When the babies came, Emma and Lucas, Tom held them first after David, looked down at their tiny faces, whispered, "You've got the best mom, and I'll be the best uncle." He came over often, changed diapers, read stories, the one about superheroes who talked things out. The kids loved him, pulled at his shirt, called him Unca Tom. Watching him with them healed something deep. The betrayal faded further, became a story we told in quiet moments, not to hurt, to remember how far we'd come. Grandma's presence stayed with us, quiet, constant. I hung her teapot in my kitchen, used it every morning, felt her in the steam rising. One day, cleaning out old boxes, I found a letter, tucked in her sewing box. Her handwriting, dated a year before she passed. "Dear Sarah and Tommy," it started. "If you're reading this, I'm gone, but know I loved you both, equal, always. Money is just paper. Family is the real gift. Take care of each other. We read it together. Tom and I sat on my balcony, sun setting soft. I think she knew, he said. I nodded. She always did. We folded it careful, put it in a frame, hung it where the kids could see. Years kept rolling. The twins grew, started school. Tom got promoted at work, head custodian, small raise, big pride. He met someone, a teacher at the school, quiet woman named Lisa. They dated slow, married quieter than my wedding. We were there, cheered. Their son came 2 years later, named him Michael, after our dad. Family gatherings got bigger, noisy, full of kids running, laughter echoing. But we never forgot the hard parts. On Grandma's birthday, we visited her grave, all of us, placed flowers, told stories. She'd be proud, Tom said one year, arm around me. Yeah, I replied, of both of us. Karma finished its work, not with punishment, with balance. Tom paid back every cent. Last check came with a note. Done, but the real debt, I'll keep paying with love. I framed that too. My life with David stayed steady. We bought a house, small yard for the kids. I quit the office job, started my own design business from home. Small clients, book covers, logos, things that made people smile. Surprises kept coming, little ones, Emma's first steps, Lucas's drawings, like Tom's old comics. A family trip to the beach Grandma always talked about. And through it all, I felt her, in the wind, in the quiet moments before sleep, whispering, "You did good, baby girl. You both did." Forgiveness turned to family, not the one we started with. Better, stronger, because it was chosen, every day. Those years showed me life doesn't end with betrayal. It restarts, with surprises, with love rebuilt. In part 9, I'll share the final twists, how the past came full circle, the lesson Grandma left, and the hope that carried us forward. Part 8 ends here. Almost there. As the years kept unfolding, I started to see how life loves to circle back. Not in straight lines, in loops. Gentle curves that bring you right to where you began, but changed, wiser, softer around the edges. That's what happened in those later years, the final twists. The ones that tied up loose ends I didn't even know were still dangling. It started with a box, an old cardboard one tucked in the attic of our new house. David and I were cleaning up one weekend. The kids, Emma and Lucas, now 8 and full of questions, were playing downstairs. I pulled the box down. Dust floated in the sunlight like tiny stars. Inside were things from Grandma's house I'd forgotten about. Photo albums, a few old dresses, and at the bottom, a small envelope, sealed, my name on it in her handwriting. I sat on the attic floor, opened it careful, like it might break. Inside was a key and a note. "Dear Sarah," it read, "if you find this, it's time. The key is for the safe deposit box at First National Bank, number 472. I put something there for you. Not for Tom, just you, because you were always the one who held things together. Love, Grandma." My hands shook a little. I hadn't known about a safe deposit box. She never mentioned it, not once. I told David that evening. He hugged me, said, "Let's go tomorrow." We did. The bank was the same one she'd used for years. The manager led me to the vault, handed me the box after I showed ID. Inside was simple. A stack of papers, bonds, old ones, from the 80s, worth about $30,000 now with interest, and another note. "I saved this separate," she wrote, "in case things went wrong. Use it for your dreams, not his. I love you both, but sometimes a grandmother knows." I leaned against the wall in that small room. Tears came quiet. She had known. Even with her mind slipping, she had protected me. A backup plan. Her way. I didn't tell Tom right away. I sat with it, felt the weight of her foresight. Then one Sunday dinner, I showed him the note. He read it slow, looked up, eyes wide. She did that?" I nodded. He smiled sad. "That sounds like her. Always one step ahead." We talked about it. No jealousy, just wonder. He said, "Use it well, like she wanted." I did. Put it toward the kids' college fund, a little toward expanding my design business, hired a helper for busy times. It felt like her hand guiding mine. Still, that was the first twist. The second came from Tom himself. He'd been steady for years. Job, wife, little Michael growing fast. Then one day he called me excited, voice lighter than I'd heard in a long time. "Sarah, I did it." "Did what?" "Started something new. Not big, just right." He explained. At the school he'd been drawing again. Comics for the kids. Simple stories about kindness. Superheroes who fixed problems with words. A teacher saw them, helped him self-publish a little book. It sold. Not millions. A few hundred copies at first, then more. Local stores. Online. "I'm not chasing money this time," he said. "Just sharing." I bought the first copy. Read it to Emma and Lucas. They loved it. Drew their own versions. Tom dedicated the book to Grandma. And to me. For the ones who believed when I didn't. That twist healed something final. Showed me he'd learned. Grown. But life saved some twists for last. The hardest one came when Aunt Rita got sick. Cancer. Quick. We all gathered. Tom and I took turns at her bedside. Held her hand. Told stories. One night, she looked at us both. Whispered, "You two, you made it through. That's all that matters." She passed peaceful. We buried her next to Grandma. Placed flowers. Felt the family smaller, but stronger in the bonds left. After, Tom and I walked the cemetery path. Kids waiting in the car. "We've lost so much," he said quiet. "But gained too," I replied. He nodded, stopped, looked at me. "I almost lost you. Forever." I hugged him. "You didn't." That day, the past came full circle. The betrayal, the pain. It led here, to this moment, standing together. Grandma's lesson shone clear then, the one she left in notes, in memories. Money is paper. Family is the gift. We taught it to our kids. Emma started a little savings jar, like mine. Lucas drew pictures of us all, stick figures, holding hands. David and I grew older together, gray in our hair, laughter lines deeper. Tom's books became a series. He quit the janitor job, wrote full-time, donated part of the proceeds to a fund for families in need. Paying it forward, he called it. I designed the covers. We worked side by side, like siblings should. One evening, watching the sunset from my porch, kids playing in the yard, I felt it complete. The story, not ended, just whole. Grandma's voice in my head. "You did good." Hope carried us, not the flashy kind, the quiet one that says tomorrow will be okay because we have each other. Those final twists showed me nothing's ever truly lost. It changes, comes back different, better. In part 10, the soft close, my last reflections, the genuine lesson, and warmth for what's next. Part 9 ends here. Here we are now, at the end of this long road we've walked together. I sit in my garden chair as I think about it all, the sun dipping low, the kids' laughter fading as they head inside for bed. David brewing tea in the kitchen. Life feels full. Not overflowing, just enough. The way Grandma always said it should be. I look back on everything. The phone call that shattered my world. The quiet discoveries that broke my heart a little more each time. The court days where truths came out like whispers in a storm. Tom's fall, my rise. The surprises that wove us back together. It wasn't a straight path. It twisted, hurt, healed. But in the healing I found the real gift. Not the money, though that helped. Not the justice, though that balanced things. The gift was understanding. Deep, true. I understood Tom better. The boy who felt small in a big world. The man who made mistakes because he was lost. Not evil, just human, scared, searching. And I understood myself, the girl who always fixed things, who held on tight to family, even when it cut her hands. I learned it's okay to let go sometimes, to protect your own heart, but also to reach back when the time is right. Grandma's lesson echoes loudest now, the one from her notes, from her life. Money is just a tool. It comes, it goes. But love, real love, that's the foundation. Build on it, cherish it, even when it's tested. She taught us without words in those last years, her quiet saving, her hidden box for me. She knew people falter, but she believed in second chances. Karma's gentle hand, not to punish, to guide. I see it in my children. Emma with her kind eyes, always sharing her toys. Lucas with his drawings, stories of heroes who forgive. They ask about Uncle Tom, about Grandma they never met. I tell them the good parts, the garden days, the bedtime stories, the love that lasted. Tom and I talk often now, not about the past, about now, his books, my designs, the grandkids, his Michael and my twins. We plan holidays, simple ones, picnics, walks, no need for fancy. Last Christmas we all gathered at my house. Snow outside, fire crackling. Tom read from his latest book. The kids sat wide-eyed. Lisa smiled from the couch. David passed cookies. In that moment I felt it complete. The circle closed. Betrayal turned to bond. Pain to peace. But life keeps moving. Doesn't stop for reflections. The twins are growing fast. School plays, soccer games. David and I dream of travel when they're older. A quiet cabin somewhere. Just us. Tom's writing takes him places. Book signings. Small towns. He sends postcards. Thinking of you. And me? My business thrives in its own way. Helping others tell their stories through designs. Logos for new starts. Covers for books like Tom's. I still visit the cemetery. Sit by Grandma's stone. Tell her updates. Thank you, I say, for everything. A bird always seems to land nearby, tilts its head, like listening. Hope is what carries me now. Warm, steady. Hope that the kids will know better. Choose kindness first. Hope that Tom stays strong. Hope that love wins. Always. If there's a lesson here, a subtle one, like Grandma would give, it's this. Hold your heart open, but guard it too. Forgive when you can, not for them, for you. And trust that life balances out, in its own time, in its own way. Karma gave me a second chance, not with thunder, with whispers, and I took it, built on it. Now it's yours to hear. Maybe it helps, maybe it heals a little hurt in your own story. This was my true story, from the pain to the peace. If you stayed hooked through it all, please like, share, and subscribe for more Grandma stories. Thank you for listening, for walking this with me. Take care of your heart out there.